Week 4 looks like it might be one of the best weeks of the college football season so far. We've got games like number 4 Miami versus Florida, Utah and Texas Tech, Oklahoma and Auburn, and a lot more. And we're going to be previewing all these games this week, plus some extras. So sit back, get some popcorn or a snack, and let's get into it. So it looks like Miami is favored in this matchup by 8.5 points. I think Miami wins, and I think they win pretty handily. I'll say they win 41-17. I like that prediction. I think that has a chance of happening. I think that Florida could put up a good fight in the first quarter or even first half, but Miami's offense, their spectacular offense, they'll end up pulling away. It looks like the over-under for this game is 51.5 points. I would assume that'll be over 51.5. I mean, I think Miami could put up that by itself on a good day, so I think Miami will win this game pretty handily, and it might be close, like I said in the first half, but Miami will pull away late. Okay, here, this is one of my favorite games of the week, if not my favorite, Oklahoma and Auburn. I really like Auburn this year so far. They really impressed me against Baylor, but it looks like they're 6.5-point underdogs against Oklahoma. I think that line's a little high. I'm really high on Auburn this year. I also like Oklahoma, but I think Auburn has the chance to have a special year this year. The over-under is 49.5 points. I think that's about right. I could see this going under, to be honest with you. I don't think there's going to be much point in this game. I think it could be like a 24-21 kind of game. I just don't think these offenses are great. I mean, Oklahoma has a great quarterback in John Mateer, but I think Auburn is more of a defensive kind of team, and I think that's a little high. Here's another top 25 matchup. We have Utah and Texas Tech. I was really high on Texas Tech coming into the year, and so far, they've really looked really good. I know they haven't played very much of anybody, but they've really impressed me in the games that they've played this year so far. And of course, in week 1, Utah absolutely obliterated UCLA. If you go to my Twitter page, you can see that I think UCLA is the worst team in the Big Ten right now, so I don't think that's really much of a surprise. I really don't like UCLA this year. I was actually kind of high on them going into the year, but Nico looked awful so far. They just fired their coach, so I don't think that one is as impressive as it kind of looked like early in the year. As far as the game goes, Utah is favored by 3.5 points. I think this should be the opposite. I think Texas Tech should be favored, and I think Texas Tech will end up winning this game. As far as my final score prediction, give me Texas Tech. I think they end up beating Utah 31-27. Okay, moving on to our next game here, we've got a top 20 matchup, Indiana and Illinois. Now, I wasn't as high on Indiana this year, but I am high on Illinois this year. And it seems like Indiana's about a 5-point favorite to beat Illinois. I think that's a little, not right. I mean, Illinois is the 9th ranked team in the country, and Indiana's like the 19th. And Indiana hasn't showed me much this year. I mean, I know they looked good last week, I think, but they haven't really played anybody, whereas Illinois has played Duke, and they look pretty good against Duke, especially in the second half. They really pulled away in the second half against Duke. Feel like Illinois is a playoff contender. I'm not going to say that they could beat Ohio State or Oregon or Penn State or like some of the best teams in the Big Ten, but I will think they beat Indiana, and I do think they beat Indiana. And I think they cover the about 5-point spread. I'll say Illinois wins it 28-17. Up next, I think we have a pretty interesting game here. It's Michigan against Nebraska, and the total money line right here of them, like 45.5 points. That is the over-under for this game. I think that's a little low, especially since they have 2 pretty good young quarterbacks in this game. You got, of course, Dylan Raiola from Nebraska trying to clone himself to be Mahomes and everything, and then you've got Bryce Underwood from Michigan. Now, I didn't think Bryce Underwood looked good at all against Oklahoma, but he did look good last week when they switched coaches. It's looking like to me Michigan is better with their with their new coach than Sharon Moore. I mean, they won 63-3 last week, and the offense looked way better. Underwood looked way more comfortable in the offense, and despite that, I think Nebraska actually finds a way to upset Michigan. I'm very concerned about Bryce Underwood, especially in Big Ten play. I mean, it's pretty easy to look good against cupcakes like Michigan played last week. And I think Nebraska is actually pretty good this year. They haven't lost yet. I watched their game against Cincinnati in week 1 on Thursday night, and they look pretty good. they found a way to beat Cincinnati. I mean, that was technically a home game for Nebraska, but technically it was a neutral site. Anyway, I think Nebraska ends up winning this game 31-28. I don't know if I trust Bryce Underwood or not yet. I mean, he definitely has potential, but we haven't saw that potential come in yet. And Michigan is like they didn't look good against Oklahoma, so I think Nebraska finds a way to pull off the upset here. South Carolina laid a big stinker against Vanderbilt last week. I know Lenore Sellers got hurt, but they looked awful. They got beat by 24 points. And Missouri is a 10.5 point favorite in this game, which is very, very high. I mean, South Carolina was a top 10 team, if I'm not mistaken, last week. Some people thought they could win the SEC, but they looked awful last week, and I don't know if they're going to be able to recover from that. Now, of course, I know looking back, Vanderbilt might be a better team than what we thought this year, but still, you shouldn't lose by 24 points to Vanderbilt. And I think Missouri's really good this year. I watched their game against Kansas. That was a great game, by the way. If you didn't watch it, you missed out. That was like one of the best games of week 2. Anyway, I think Missouri does win this game, but they're not going to cover this massive spread. It's 46.5 points over under for this game. I think that's a little bit low, I think. I mean, it could make sense if Lenore Sellers doesn't play, but the Missouri coach came out and said today that he anticipates Sellers to play. So if he does play, I think it's above this. If he doesn't play, I think it's below this. If Sellers doesn't play, I don't think South Carolina, I don't think they put forward much of a fight. But if Sellers does play, then I think this game could get interesting, and I could even see South Carolina winning this game pretty handedly if Sellers plays and then looks like he's supposed to. But he hasn't played that great to start the year. I mean, even against Virginia Tech, they didn't just completely run over them, and Virginia Tech has not been very good this year. They just fired their coach a few days ago. It's been a rough year for Virginia Tech, and I do think that Missouri finds a way to win this game. I'll say 35-17 if Sellers doesn't play. If Sellers does play, I think Missouri still wins 31-28. Here's another interesting game, Ole Miss versus Tulane. Ole Miss has not looked good so far this year. They almost lost to Kentucky, and they almost lost to Arkansas last week. Now, I know those were SEC games, and now you get an easier Tulane game, but Tulane is a pretty good team still, and Ole Miss is favored by 11.5. I think that's about what it's going to be. I don't really have much of an analysis for this game. I think that Austin Simmons hasn't looked that great so far this year, but I do think Ole Miss finds a way to win. I do think they cover. I'll go 41-24. I think Tulane will put up some points, and they might even keep it competitive through the first half, but I think Ole Miss finds a way to shut them down in the second half. And by the way, Ole Miss's defense has looked pretty bad so far this year, so it just depends on that. But I do think Ole Miss still wins, and I still think they cover. We got another game here. We got Oregon and Oregon State. I don't know that this game probably won't be very close. Oregon's looked really good so far this year, and I'm actually really high on Oregon after what they did against Oklahoma State a few weeks ago. They're favored by 35.5 points, which is absolutely insanely high, but I do think they have a chance of covering this. The over-under is set at 56, so I think they expect that Oregon State will be almost shut out, and I do think that's a possibility. Oregon's defense has looked pretty good this year. Even though they didn't play their best against Northwestern last week, they still got the job done. I think Oregon wins this game 42-3. This is the penultimate game that we're going to go over. We've got Notre Dame and Purdue. Notre Dame, they've lost 2 games. They might be the best 0-2 team in the country this year, in all of college football history, to be honest with you. They played 2 great teams with Miami and Texas A&M. Both of those teams I have in the top 10, but Notre Dame, they should have won that Texas A&M game for sure, and even at the end of the Miami game, they had a chance. But this is a 26.5 point favorite for Notre Dame to beat Purdue. I do think they ended up getting their first win. I don't think they're actually going to cover the spread. I don't think their offense is going to put up a lot of points this year, but I think their defense could be better. They've got to be better. They allowed 40 points to Texas A&M last week, and the over/under is 55.5. I think that that'll probably be under as well. I'm thinking Notre Dame wins 28-3 or something like that. I don't think it'll be that high scoring for Notre Dame. I don't think Purdue stays in it for very long either. It'll just be like one of those games. It's like 14 to nothing, 21 to nothing, 21 to 3, like for most of the game. So I have Notre Dame winning 28 to 3. Here's the last game we're gonna go over today. I think this is a pretty interesting game here. We got USC and Michigan State. And if you can see from my Big Ten Power Rankings, I'm pretty high on both of these teams this year. Obviously, USC's defense is not very good. I mean, they're never very good, but their offense with Jaden Mayava, they carry the team. And then I'm also pretty high on Michigan State this year, too. I watched them play Boston College a few weeks ago. They found a way to win that game against a pretty decent Boston College team. And USC is 17.5-point favorites. I think that's way too much, especially since you can't really trust USC's defense to hold them like under 24 points. I think the key is for USC, if they can hold Michigan State under 20 points, they're easily going to win this game. But if Michigan State gets in the 30s, I think that Michigan State could easily win this game. I think that USC does indeed win, though, 38 to, we'll say 24. I like that. Anyway, that's going to be all the predictions for this week. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel for more videos coming this week, and I'll talk to you later.